Hello and welcome into the Section 109 podcast from Studio Breezy. Were you looking at me like you can't hear me?
No, we're good.
Okay.
What's up?
I am joined by two lovely gentlemen. Matthew.
What's up?
And are we calling you Jim or Chattagooner?
Either one. I answer to...
I think let's use Jim. We use names on this podcast.
Yeah.
No aliases?
No aliases.
So
yeah.
I can't be Breezy?
That's your name.
That's
your legal God-given name.
Well, welcome into the Section 109 podcast. We're here with special guest Jim to do two podcasts tonight because, you know, if you get sucked into doing one podcast with us, you might as well do two. And the first one is going to be the review of the Independent Cup, which we have not yet reviewed, and the last game, which was Gold Star. I had to think for a second.
Right.
Matthew, why don't you tell us about the game really quick that we're skipping?
Yeah, so we're going to skip the away Maryland Bobcats 1-1 draw. Freakish rocket ship banger from...
You talking about Markus's goal or their goal?
Really both goals. Markus's free kick, the other one from open play. Yeah, there wasn't a ton in that match. I think both teams on a different day might have ended up with 3 points, but sometimes that happens, and I was on vacation and didn't even watch it. And we're going to move...
There's the real truth.
We're going to move straight on to the Independent Cup against AC Houston Sur.
I just want to say one thing. If Markus is going to keep scoring free kicks...
Cool. I'm down.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
He just keeps deciding games on his own.
It's really fun.
Yeah, it really is amazing how even if he doesn't score... it seems like every free kick. I can't remember the last bad free kick he's had. I mean, whether it either terrifies the keeper or it goes in.
Yeah,
it's one of the two things.
He's on quite the roll.
Yeah.
So moving on from that game into Matthew, take us through the Independent Cup and tell me why I should care about the Independent Cup.
It's a cup. We got a cup, first of all. It was a cup. It's not the Independent Platter this year.
That is a very good point. Although the Independent Platter you could eat food off of. A cup is less useful. Did it hold beer? Did anyone see if anyone poured beer in it?
I'm sure it would hold it for a little while.
It's from NISA. I don't know if it'll hold.
It depends on the quality there. So we won our region in the Independent Cup in playing 3 games in 2020 and in 2021. We won last year in a single game where the amateur teams played against each other for the right and the privilege to face us. And we won that game. That was actually against Club de Leon, who's now in the league. And,
same thing, right?
Yeah. And then this year's version was AC Houston Sur. And
as you said before the podcast, AC Houston Sur.
Yeah. So let's just get into it straight up.
What did you think? I'll go to Jim first. Matthew, why don't you read this, or I'll read the starting lineup. Then Jim, I want your reactions on what you thought when you first saw the starting lineup. So to
the Sur match.
To the Sur match, yeah, and I'll read it for you as I pulled up the women's review, not the right one. Okay, here's the correct review. Actually,
you could have just borrowed my laptop.
Give me your laptop. All right. So we had goalkeeper Jonathan Burke, right back Jung Woo So, right center back Sebastian Capozzucci, left center back Aiden Bowers, left back Colin Stripling, central defensive midfielder Alex McGrath, central midfielder Beto Alvarenga, central midfielder Luis Garcia Sosa, also known as Mr. Banger, right wing Damien, left wing Juan Luis, striker Lenny. What were your first thoughts when you saw the lineup?
Well, I mean, I thought we would rotate. I didn't know that we would rotate like basically all 11 players. So they needed. That's unlike Rod to rotate much at all, even for a game like this. So I was a little surprised at the amount, but I was pleased. A lot of those, we don't rotate a lot in league, so some of those players needed some minutes. I wasn't overly. I had no idea what Houston brought. So but I figured that team was good enough to win, and so I was happy. I mean, I don't know that I cared too much, I guess is the at the end of the day. Yeah. I don't know. I thought we would rotate. We did rotate. I didn't think we'd rotate that much, but at the end of it, I didn't care. I expected to see goals, and I expected us to win.
The Independent Cup is a glorified friendly that you can't lose. That's the only difference. That's what separates it from like an Apotheos game. You know? Like you can't lose it, but it's still a glorified friendly.
Matthew?
Well, we tried.
Yeah, we did.
We gave it the good effort.
We'll get to that in a minute. Left back Colin Stripling, Matthew.
He was. I mean, I realized that other players scored and like did crazy things. He was the best player on the field in the first half.
That was surprising to me. Not that he played well. That he was playing left back. Like left back, Colin Stripling was not in my bingo card.
Yeah, that's true. I figured if anything would have happened, it would have been like Jung Woo So.
That's what I would have
and let
assumed.
Colin just play his minutes in that game, like in his normal position. But it was interesting, and I think more interesting than the starting lineup, honestly, is the rotation that happened at halftime.
Yeah.
So you've got Richard coming in for Alex McGrath, you've got Joseph Perez coming in for Colin Stripling, and Anatoly came in for Aiden Bowers. And what that did is ensure that nobody from our team played more than 135 minutes between that Maryland away match and the Independent Cup. So I think what it came down to is purely minutes management and nothing else.
And kind of like Jim said, I really liked seeing guys get minutes, and I really liked exactly how regimented all those subs were. So looking at those subs...
It was 3 at halftime, and it was 3 at the 75th minute.
It's totally Joseph Perez and Richard Dixon at halftime. It's Mumu, Jesus, and Markus at the 75th minute. And we can talk about kind of like how the game went, and I definitely want to talk about each goal, but I loved it was like Rod had that written out on paper, I guarantee you, or on the board or whatever. They knew exactly when everybody. I mean, like they're on whole minutes, like 75, not 62. Like they had it regimented out. So I like they came in the plan. And like you said, 135 minutes. I didn't realize that was quite but I love that. I love that minute management. So first goal, Luis Garcia Sosa. How surprised were you boys that went in?
I wasn't. Keeper was off his line a little bit.
I don't even remember the goal. I don't even remember the game. Like when you say we were going to talk about this, I'm like, I don't even remember. What was the score?
Yeah, no. So here, I'll remind you. That was the left-footed curler from almost outside the box or just outside the box.
Oh yeah.
He started it reminded me of the Birmingham goal away that we gave up. It wasn't quite from the same place, but it was the same type of like big looping like ball, and I was just like, oh.
Yeah, that was not. Well, it was also like a nice series of play, right? I mean, it was that.
Yeah, we had the ball the entire first half, and so constantly just passing, moving.
Yeah,
and it starts with a Colin Stripling square ball to McGrath, and then McGrath sees Luis just in this little pocket of space and just drives the ball into him. Luis settles it. I think he takes his first touch to the settle. Second touch moves it out a little bit towards the middle of the field, and then he's basically on the edge of the 18, a few yards I think inside the edge of towards the sideline, and I was in the stands looking at that play, going, as soon as he received the ball in space, I was like, curler, hit it.
It was so good. Made me so happy. 1-0. Lenny Lopez, next goal. It's an Aiden Bowers assist. Matthew, take us through this one, because I don't remember this one. I remember the first one, but I don't remember this one.
Does it say Alex McGrath hockey assist on there?
It does.
Yeah, so this comes from maybe Alex McGrath's favorite side of the field to hit a corner from, the left-hand corner. Mm-hmm. He sends a corner in all the way across. Aiden Bowers does the classic thing on the back post where he's all the way up in there, kind of near the goalkeeper, near one of the defenders. And then right as Alex starts his movement, he peels off the back. Defender forgets about him because he's running away and not breathing on his neck at the exact time. And Aiden just heads the ball back across the face of goal. Lenny takes it on the volley. I think nutmegs the keeper in the process or something like that. 2-0. And both of those happened pretty quick. I think Luis was in the 10th minute, and Lenny was not terribly far after
I think it was
that.
like the 13th. It doesn't. We don't have it written down here, and it doesn't matter. But I think it was like the 13th minute. I think within 15 minutes, I think it was 2-0.
Yeah,
which felt like all was right with the world. Alex McGrath gets to score a penalty earned by Aiden Bowers. Were you surprised it was Alex McGrath that took the penalty?
No.
So I don't know how much you think about it, Jim, but every time somebody goes to take a penalty and Markus isn't in the game, Matthew and I are yelling at each other who it's going to be. The Richard Dixon penalty earlier on in the season was so shocking.
Yeah, I just assumed that was going to be McGrath.
I was sure that it was going to be Richard like faking it out.
I thought he was holding the ball.
Same.
And waiting for them to give him crap, and then he hands it off to somebody else.
And then that didn't happen in that game. And so in this game, I was like, who's it going to be? And I thought it might be Lenny, the striker, and especially because Alex didn't take it when Richard was on the field. Maybe Alex just isn't the penalty. No, Alex was the penalty guy.
Yeah. So if you think about it, go back to the shootout against Birmingham in the Open Cup. Your 5 takers were Nagelstad, Dixon, McGrath, Mumu, and Beto. McGrath was higher in the order. Nagelstad and Dixon weren't on the field. McGrath was higher in the order.
Yeah.
I think he was the third in that game. Makes sense that he's the without Dixon and McGrath on the field at the time. Like, makes sense that he's the guy.
So we're dominating. 75th minute rolls around. I don't really want to dwell on the a partial collapse, but this is, I think, the classic that we're playing against an amateur team who are playing in their Super Bowl. They were very up for it. They were super nice. Them coming out with pendants for for every player, throwing T-shirts into the stands. I thought that was fun. I thought that vibes were good. I thought they were very nice. I enjoyed all of that. And then they scored a goal off of just a bad play on our end, and then our wingers weren't tracking back, and they scored a second goal 3 minutes later or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I was like, are we going to blow this? Are we finally going to lose?
We were having a moment in the stands.
Yeah, I was. So that, if I remember correctly, the first goal is that a Dixon back? Did he back heel it? Or
he back passes it right to them, but he's kind of getting fouled in the process. But instead
didn't he do that? Was this the game where he did that 2 times in a row, and we kind of got let off the hook the first time, and then the second?
Yeah, there were 2 chips, and one of them, it was from a different angle, the first one, but
same type of thing.
First chip missed, and then the second
that
one
to me, Dixon doesn't make those errors.
Ever.
So to me, that was focus. I mean, they just. I think they were. I don't mean this as negative it's going to sound. I think they were just mailing it in at that point, and the other team.
I agree.
The other team.
We were up 3-0 and cruising.
Yeah, I mean, I just that he doesn't make that. He doesn't make the. Although he did kind of make a similar mistake, I think, in the Detroit game, but he doesn't make those mistakes. And when it happened twice, I was like, they're not dialed in. They're kind of going through the motions right now. I thought maybe the second goal would then be like, okay, we can wake up, but we didn't really wake up.
It's really hard. I think if we had weathered the storm that happened after the first goal and not let that second one in so quickly, I think we would have recovered, managed the game the rest of the way. But because we gave up that second goal, I think the momentum of the game had completely shifted.
Yeah.
And then you've got then you've got a situation where you're all of a sudden trying to get up for a game that the other team's already even more fired up for, because now they've scored 2 goals, and are running, controlling the rest of the play. We still couldn't string together passes, and that you run the risk of and I think there's something that happened here that's very, very interesting, and we've seen this at times throughout the NISA season. This team can go into a shell. It is not something you would expect a Rod Underwood team to do.
You mean defensively go into a shell?
But this team can go into a shell and can just bunker down and hang on for a while. And there weren't going to be any more subs. The guys on the field had to get the job done. Mm-hmm. But you saw that not terribly long after, as Houston was pushing crazy numbers forward. Those wingers that probably didn't track back on that second goal were all of a sudden on our goal line, helping to defend. And while it meant that we couldn't break out and get a counter and finish off the game, you at least had numbers back to make things a lot harder for Houston, and it calmed the rest of the game down.
It did calm the rest of the game down. And it's one of those things where, as Jim pointed out, it's a focus issue, I think, more than anything. Mm-hmm. The guys that at some point the whole team kind of lost focus between the subs and the whatever. So I'm not worried about that. If it's going to happen, let's have it happen in the Independent Cup game where we win anyway. Don't have it happen in a NISA game. And so it's one of those things that at the end of the day, it's something you learn from and hopefully you grow through, and the team becomes a little bit more cohesive because of experiencing some adversity and overcoming it.
Yeah, I think this will be a good transition point onto the Gold Star game. the following weekend. But if we had seen that kind of lackadaisical lack of focus, going through the motions in a league match right afterwards, then I would have been really, really concerned. And I think what we got instead was a dialed in, locked in group that was hell bent on
almost scoring,
on almost scoring, on playing the game on our terms, creating chances, doing what we do, and so I do think there was a marked difference in that Gold Star game.
One last thing on the Independent Cup game. There was some like massive club shit that happened during that game. So you had the guy get injured, and I don't remember exactly what minute that was in, but it was like 17 minutes of added time, and I don't even think that was actually what could have been the full added time, right?
Oh, yeah, about 24th minute or so.
Wild time. And, broke his leg, terrible scenes. But the fact that we had a customized, personalized jersey for him with his name on it at the end of the game when the team was taking pictures, they had to come right out of the merch booth, his name, his number. Their team jerseys didn't even have names on them. And he got a CFC jersey with his name on it. It doesn't make it okay, but it's just like that is how big clubs handle like when something like that happens. And I just love to see that we're at a place in CFC's history where we can do, not only can we do custom jerseys, but we can turn one around during a game.
Oh, shout out to Smo for the new equipment.
Exactly. And that is a Smo thing. But it's just really cool. I looked down at the field and I saw them taking a picture after the game with a CFC jersey, and I was like, wait a minute. And then I asked after the game, they're like, yeah, it was a custom jersey with his name and number. And I was like, that's exactly how it should work.
Yeah.
Like he's going to get that little memento, and it's just a little nice gesture. So I was really, really happy about that. And I'd like also going forward to the Gold Star game, can we not have the next game have a stretcher involved?
Seriously,
for the love of all things. All right, Gold Star. So we're back to kind of our league starting lineup here. We have our back six is the same as it always is. It's Jean-Antoine in goal, Colin Stripling at right back, Prepelica comes back in at right center back, left center back Aiden Bowers, left back Joseph Perez, central defensive midfielder Richard Dixon. That's your back six. That's basically absolutely nailed in starters at this point. Alex McGrath, your normal starter in one of the positions. So I guess you're back seven, though I don't know where to put him in the whatever. And then you have Luis and Beto, who have been kind of alternating back and forth. But it's Luis gets to start in this game. Mumu gets to start at right wing, left wing. Jesus Ibarra, Jesus. By the way, I asked him it is Jesus, not Jesus, but I don't know. Somebody in the supporter section is trying to write Jesus Freak as a shout out. Sean Weldon.
Where is he from? Where is he from?
California, right?
California.
Am I remembering that correctly? Hold on.
That's a good question.
Let's find
So
this.
is he Spanish or Brazilian? Is it Jesus or Jesus?
It's Jesus.
Okay.
Because I asked him at the bar. I was like, "Hey man, is it Jesus? Is it Jesus? Like what? I don't want to be butchering your name." And he's like, "It's Jesus." And I was like, "Okay, cool."
He was born in San Diego.
San
There you
Diego.
go. I'm pretty sure it was a Cali boy. We got a lot of Cali,
We
Cali
do
boys
have
on
a
this
lot
team.
of Cali boys.
Yeah.
So first of all, Jim, we haven't talked about this. Matthew and I have talked a little bit about this. How? What are we? 3 games into the Jesus? 3 league games into the Jesus era?
Off the bench against LA Force, started against Michigan, started against Maryland, off the bench against AC Houston Sur, started against Gold Star.
Okay, so that's the 5th game, 4 of those being league games. Jim, how you feeling about Jesus?
I was incredibly excited after his first appearance. I have been less excited since, but he still has. There's a smoothness to his play that I mean, I can see there's talent there. I can see he's good. But I after the first, it may be that I was so impressed with his first performance.
That first second half there. Yeah.
That I expected him to kick on and just be amazing, and he's not met those high expectations. I mean, he's been okay. He's been fine. We still are not incredibly dangerous off the left.
I fully disagree with that, but we'll come back to that.
So I think I do agree with your, like, it hasn't been all rainbows and butterflies, right?
Oh, of course.
But
yeah.
I do think there's a thing that's happened now that's more than just him scoring or him assisting, because we're still lacking some end product in the Gold Star game, which we will definitely talk about.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the thing that's different now is now we have a right footer to cut in and actually beat somebody off the dribble, and that is causing more space to be available for other players. I think we were in a bit of a lull there where we were not getting space for other, like Markus didn't have space because they weren't ever shifting over to double the left wing, or if they were doubling whatever, we weren't getting the numbers, and now we're getting a little more of the numbers. And I think Jesus isn't the only part. The reemergence of Mumu coming back, I think, has been a big part of that. But I'm interested. I'm very interested to see where we go as an offense from here.
Would it surprise you to know that Jesus has 3 goal contributions in 303 minutes so far?
Is that 2 assists and a goal?
It's a goal, an assist, and a hockey assist.
Hockey assist.
He does love a hockey assist.
Yeah.
That the hockey assist being he earned the penalty that Markus scored against Michigan Stars.
Oh, that's true. I forgot about that.
Yeah. So I don't know. I can't remember the assist. The goal was the header, right?
Yes.
Goal was the header. Yeah.
So
the assist was for Beto, I believe, against Michigan Stars.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, again, I'm going to be just nitpicky and say like a goal on a set piece is not indicative of what he's doing in regular play. A lot of people can get a goal, and you can get a goal in a set piece. So, am I surprised at that? No, because I remember each of the except for the secondary assist.
Don't worry, only Matthew remembers all of those.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I'm not familiar with his XG chain number, so but yeah, I remember the other 2. So no, I'm not surprised. I don't know that changes my overall opinion that I was really impressed I was really impressed the first game, and
you were like, holy shit.
Yeah. And then I just haven't been that since.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable when you put it that way. With the expectation was, here because he was electric that first game. I think I'm higher on him than you are, but
if you look at the left back that we're missing, or excuse me, not left back, the left winger that we're missing, he's not as dynamic and as maybe chaotic as Taylor.
See, I think he's just as chaotic as Taylor, but he's not as athletic as Taylor.
Yeah.
So he beats players off the dribble like Taylor can, but they do it in different ways.
Yeah, and maybe that's what I'm comparing him to Taylor's that energy that he has and it could be he's a big guy. And
he is not small.
His gait is such that he could be running incredibly quickly. It doesn't look like he's moving.
Oh no, he's not very fast. You make a good point there.
I wouldn't say he's incredibly quick.
No, I'm not saying he's fast. I'm just saying that when he moves, it doesn't look like he's doing a whole lot, and he's making. I mean, he has a gait, and he has a smoothness about him that I appreciate. I just don't see the energy and chaos that I see from Taylor.
And few have the chaos that especially the beginning of this year's Taylor.
Maybe I need to go back and rewatch.
I would rewatch the Gold Star match because I think you'll find, number one, well, since we're kind of there now, Gold Star for me is our best offensive performance in terms of chance creation. Obviously, we could have been more clinical. We win that game 2-1. Hit the bar twice, hit the post twice.
Should have had 5 goals.
Did we absolutely skied a couple shots there?
We did. We hit the bar twice.
I think we shanked one so bad that it missed the goal entirely from the edge of the 6.
We did.
And then you've got other chances like
we skied one from right at the top of the 6 and one wide from the top of the 6.
Yeah. I think you've got one where like Nags does a sweet dummy and Jesus just doesn't quite like cleanly put it away. That on another, you give that chance to him again, and he scores. It probably scores it.
And Mumu had a couple.
Yeah,
Mumu had He
had like 4 goals himself.
Yeah, Mumu had
on another day.
Mumu was like, I'm creating. I'm in the perfect right spot. I've done everything right, and I missed.
Yeah.
But also, like, the thing that I'm so excited about from this game, sorry to cut you off, Matthew, is that we had that game, and every season we have a couple of those. Whether we're playing well or not, we have a couple where we're everything's clicking, we can't score, and then we lose.
Yeah.
And this one, we still didn't lose. We still took care of business in the end.
Yeah, I mean, once we drew, I wasn't incredibly worried about a loss. I mean, once we got the goal
Yeah.
and evened it up, I don't know. I was so frustrated through that match. I don't really remember too much of the other than just the amazing misses.
I
think it's more-
had the benefit of knowing the score before I watched the match closely.
And he has a text thing of about 100 texts to me in
Yeah.
a row as he's watching.
But
rewatching.
so
He was at a wedding, which you're 5-0 away from home at a
so
wedding.
CFC is 6 wins, 0 losses, 0 draws when I am at my college friends' weddings or bachelor parties.
Okay, well,
We know what you're doing during
Yeah.
the championship game.
And
That's right.
and what is the and the scoring totals are like something absurd as well. Because like it included 4-2, a 3-0, a 5-0, and a 5-1 from last year, and then Maryland away where we came back and won 2-1. Actually, I guess both games where we came back and won 2-1. But anyway, yeah. So I had the benefit of knowing the score, knowing when the goals are going to be, and so in that context, knowing what's going on or what will happen and watching it unfold. Yeah, it's frustrating to watch good chance after good chance be squandered. But I think the important thing from this game is, if you think back to post Taylor Gray's injury, this team had struggled to really create chances with the type of ability that, frankly, the talent level in this team in comparison to the rest of the league.
Well, look how many free kicks
should be
Markus
able to do.
Look how
Yes.
many free kicks Markus has to save us from.
right? Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
Right.
which just shows you like we shouldn't be in that position to begin with.
No.
And I'm glad we have a player that can bail us out. But if we're counting on Markus to bail us out because he got one free kick in a game, like it's not clicking.
Right.
But I would argue against Goldtar, and I think actually yours and my take on this game, which is pretty similar, unsurprisingly, is not the take that I think most people have. I think actually more people agree with Jim on that it was so frustrating and that it wasn't as good a performance. And I'm not saying that we're necessarily right, but I think it's interesting, like on the rewatch, to have rewatched and to think like
I swear to God, think back to the really, really frustrating Flower City loss last year. And
this one could have been that.
where so like the issue was not that we created like 3 goals in XG. It was that we only created 3 goals in XG against that team.
Right. Yeah.
And we didn't create enough to have
And-
like someone like fall down and their ass hit the ball into the net, right? In this game, we created, 5 goals of XG to the point that it took an Olympico because that's how XG invariance works.
Yeah.
Like at a certain point, if you just create ungodly amounts of XG, you are eventually going to accidentally score one.
Also, have you guys seen
Shout out Alex McGrath.
Have you seen the back and forth from Alex and Aiden on Instagram?
Oh, it's so good.
Oh no, I haven't.
So good.
So CFC posted a video and said like Olympico whatever, and Aiden replied, "I touched it."
Yeah. 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 Well, they went back and forth. The guy who called in the game went back and forth.
Well, that's-
He couldn't decide.
Yeah,
I
he couldn't
don't
decide.
trust anyone like that.
Well, I mean, his spotter clearly could.
Also, like they had the field, whatever field mic they had was like you could hear casual conversation happening at the game. But I also know that he wasn't on site. He was, I think, calling it remotely on a
was he?
monitor.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons why the commentary was a little rough at times because he only could see what was on the monitor.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever.
So but think about it. We get that. Mumu clangs one off the post. You've got the one off the bar in like the 3rd minute. You've got the cutback for Alex McGrath that he skied just 2 minutes before an Olympico.
He has a 0.65 xG, like the biggest possible chance, and then he scores a 0.001
Right.
or whatever.
Yeah. So like the fact that we were creating chances from both the left and the right and down the center. Yes, our finishing was not clinical enough. But the fact that we were creating chances from all areas of the field all game long is incredibly encouraging to me. And finishing a lot of times is kind of just down to luck. Yes, it could be focus. Yes, it could be way the wind blows or whatever. But we just call that luck over the broader, parts of multiple games. If we keep creating chances like that, taking what the defense gives us. I mean, like, you think about it, in some games this year, let's take a Flower City game at home because that's the one that we could see. It was a slog getting the ball through midfield. And that's usually how, like, say, Michigan Stars games play out again for us. we were able to, with some serious patience, able to break down Michigan's bunker in that game. We very much struggled to break down Flower City at all in that home game. But in Gold Star, we just walked through them.
Yeah.
Anytime we decided to have possession, which was all the time, we would pass the ball forward, pass it around a little bit, wait for a gap to open up, slide the ball into the middle or slide the ball down the wing. And all of a sudden we were into the attacking third, looking to do something with it.
Yeah. So
that is a massive evolution for this team. And it's been coming a little bit. I think we talked about how the LA and Michigan games were a step in the right direction. I think betting in Jesus a little bit. And it seems like we're getting, outside of Taylor Gray, Ethan Corrin, and Ali Jaimes, it seems like we're getting healthy.
Luis is healthy again.
Yeah, and I think it's showing.
So how much of this is due, though? How much of this game is due? And I'm going to be a little bit of a wet blanket to them playing Michigan on Thursday.
Some. Well,
and
also some of it's the way that just Gold Star plays. Gold Star makes Michigan Stars look like an offensive juggernaut. They're not good. They've got plenty of off the field problems. But this is also a game against a team that tries to play a little bit, realizes they can't, and puts 11 behind the ball. This is a team that you still have to go out and create against. Look back to Savannah, who put 11 behind the ball, who were absolutely fucking shit.
Tell us how you really feel.
And we didn't really create a ton against Savannah.
No.
Had to get the
is that the Tolley header?
The Tolley header. And
two Tolley headers.
Yeah, we should have actually won that game,
yes.
but
inverted commas.
Yes.
Didn't create a whole bunch in that game. Gold Star, we actually created enough that just eventually something's going to happen. And I think that's the story of that one.
Yeah, and I'll say yes, I think it was frustrating. I don't know that I would say that I think it was a bad performance. I'm not.
I think it was a great performance,
especially. So I saw. I don't know if it was. I can't remember if it was on Twitter or if it was somewhere else. Where several of our fans were like, "Oh, we can't get two passes and where it's all sloppy." And I didn't see that. I mean, I didn't see us being sloppy in terms of possession or being able to create stuff. I mean, I even told, I think Jed was like, "Oh, I have to do XG on this." I'm like, "Jed, just don't. You don't want to see. You don't want to see.
You don't want to see us underperform by 4 goals,
right? You don't want to see that. I mean, you just don't. Just don't do it, because it's going to be a crazy number, and it's just going to make you more frustrated. So, but the match was incredibly frustrating. I even said, I think at some point when Mubu, I think it missed his second. I'm like, is it going to be one of those games?
Yeah.
I mean, is it going to?
Well, that's what I thought.
No, but it is. It is one of those games.
Yeah,
it's one of those games where it's so hard to go undefeated.
Oh yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
It's just one of those games where eventually the ball's not going to go in.
Yeah, there's a reason why there's only one Premier League team that's gone full season undefeated.
Wow,
there we go.
There it is. Wonder who that could be.
Well, definitely wasn't Tottenham.
But also you're not wrong. It's incredibly hard for even the best teams in the world. There's a reason why PSG loses a game every year in France. There's a reason why Bayern loses games in the Bundesliga.
And by the way,
it's incredibly difficult.
There's a pretty good chance we'll still lose one before the end of this season.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But we're still undefeated at this point, and in league play, and long may it continue. All right.
Technically, we're undefeated. Period. In competitive matches.
Well, yeah, I know.
Shootouts count as losses.
If you don't advance,
Bingo.
it's a loss.
It's a draw.
Thank you, Jim.
It's a draw.
Jim.
If you don't advance, it's a loss.
Thank you, Jim. I agree.
So.
I agree. All right, Jim. Assuming 2, I don't know if you've done this stats yet. He just gave me these before the game. Assuming 2 Michigan wins because they have 2 games in hand.
Yeah.
And we're saying in hand compared to
CFC because no one else matters. Because we have a 7-point lead over Michigan right now. We have a 10-point lead over Albion.
Yes.
If Michigan wins their next 2, we will still have a 7-point lead. Sorry, we don't have a 7-point lead now. If Michigan wins their next 2,
right,
that they have in hand, we will still have a 7-point lead, and we will have a 10-point lead over Albion, who has actually played a bunch of games.
They played 14.
Same as us,
yeah,
right?
Same as us.
Yeah.
Only one team has played 15, I think. Right?
Maryland.
Yeah, Maryland. Yeah.
CFC is the only team in the league to concede a maximum of 1 goal in any game. We have not this season conceded more than 1 goal.
Yeah, you really are just lining it up we're going to lose like 3-0 to
Correct.
Who are we playing this week?
Savannah Clovers.
Yeah, we'll lose 3-0 to Savannah now. I don't know how that's going to happen. There's going to be 2 own goals and
only thing,
and the third goal is going to go off the center ref.
I'm gonna pile on more. 14 matches in the league now. One of them was 0-0. How many 0-0s did it feel like we had last year?
we had like 7 or 8 last year.
Yeah.
We in 13 games, we've scored first in 8 of those 13. Why is it 14 and then 13?
We have played 14 games. One of those games is 0-0. So nobody scored.
Got it.
Yeah.
In
Of
the
the 13
games,
remaining.
got it. We've scored first in 8 of those 13. It's a good stat. We did not concede a goal in any league match after scoring first. So we have conceded first. Once we've scored, we haven't allowed a goal.
That's a good stat.
That says a lot about our defense.
Yeah, that's a good stat. That's the stat
That
of
is
all
the
the
stat.
ones that you've mentioned. That's the most important stat.
We've conceded first in 5 of the games. We've come back to draw in 3 of those, and we've come back to win in 2 of those.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, like, we're halfway through the season, which is one of the reasons, like, Matt did all these. We're a little more than halfway, so it's a little like a halfway look back. And one thing that I'm really surprised about that we've said before in this podcast, but I'll say again, Rod Underwood, the offensive control guy, has created a defensive juggernaut.
Well, and I will say we've given up 5, right? We've given up 5 goals.
Yep.
I think 4 of those goals are brain fart goals.
Yes.
I think the only goal that is fairly solid
Is the Maryland.
The Maryland.
Yeah.
The rest of them are all crap.
And I'll add
Gold Star? The Gold Star banger?
penalty.
No, not Gold.
Maryland.
Oh, I'm thinking of the Maryland goal. Sorry. Okay, you're right. My bad.
Everything
My bad.
else is either a howler from the keeper. We've had a couple of those, or maybe one.
It was
one,
a foul.
just one.
I don't. Okay. Anyway, and just like
There was one howler. There was a foul. There was a penalty, and then
Yeah.
like a
Oh,
full,
yeah,
35
yeah.
yard shot, 30 yard shot or whatever.
Yeah. So, I mean, they've all been, I mean, the one thing I will say, and I was going to say this a little bit earlier, the one concern I have and it's hard to pick apart a team that's undefeated and has a 20 goal difference.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, so I'm really picking here, but we do have, and this goes back to the moment of, kind of lack of focus we do have that in us. We do have a weird, that's what I'm concerned about is we do have a strange goal in us. And I don't know if it's I don't know, like Antoine, I don't like the ball goes through his hand. We have those little, brain fart goals in us. That's my only concern so far.
I think that's a reasonable point. I think it's incredibly hard to be so switched on all the time when there's nothing to do.
Yeah,
like it's
sure.
it's that difference.
Absolutely.
It's that difference why sometimes you get, like, let's say Pep Guardiola, he has Ederson in goal, partly for his foot, mostly for his foot skills, but also because it requires him to be, playing with an abacus in the goal box for
And make one
80 minutes of a game, and then he has to make one big time save. And not every goalkeeper can do that, and it's just incredibly tough at any level of the game.
I also think stuff sticks out a little bit more because we haven't allowed much else, that it's easier to look at it. I also think it sticks out too because Jean has been so good going up and over guys and going and getting balls that when he drops the easy one, it's like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. But I also think I feel pretty good about it overall. And I agree with your, I am always, the thing about being the better team now is now I have the fear, because we're not always the better team, right? But now I have the fear that we're going to get unlucky or we're going to have a brain fart, and then that's going to screw us over.
Yeah.
Rather than we need, it's just,
I was just
it's the
thinking,
pessimistic sport. It's the hope that kills you. So this is my way of, also being worried.
so you've got 2 referee errors, and then you've got a couple of individual errors that make up 4 of the 5 goals. And you've got that 5th goal that Maryland scored. What's a 30-yard shot on XG? Like 0.001, Like an incredibly low percentage chance.
That looks like it did not take a deflection, but looks like it takes a deflection because it's got such a dip on it.
It had some swerve because it wrong-footed one. I mean, he takes a half step the wrong direction.
It's nasty.
So
it's filthy.
I thought, I was like, when I first saw him, like, did he not see? Was he blocked? Did he not see this? But no, he sees it. It's just the ball knuckles like crazy.
Yeah, curves.
Yeah, I guess my point is, like, we have not given up a goal from a huge defensive breakdown, good play from the opposition, cut back in the box, big chance. And, that's something we try to do on offense, and we try to give and not give up on defense. I think it's just a testament to the way this team has been coached, the way they've delivered on those instructions, and it's a pretty good season so far.
So we have our 3 key takeaways here each, and then we'll wrap it up. Jim, you're welcome to throw in if you have key takeaways. If you don't, it's no big deal. Matthew, I'm going to let you read yours, and it's shockingly ours are not identical, but they're close.
You mean you're going to give me my laptop back?
Correct.
So the first one, the Independent Cup's not important, but you also have to win it. I think I mentioned that before. It was not pretty. It's a bit of a wake-up call. You always have to bring 100% anytime you're on the field. But at the end of the day, job done. And you win, you didn't lose, and we move on. And it was a great response against Gold Star. I think they were locked in, they were focused. The chances that we created were incredibly good. It's our best chance creation game of the season, and it's not particularly close. And it was also like a bit of a shit show environment. Gold Star didn't have a trainer. We could not get even into the locker rooms until an hour before the match started, because that's what the agreement they made with the school. Just a lot of things with that trip were pretty horrific, and
including that injury.
Yeah, and it was it's just one of those things. Like
that slow-mo you posted, by the way, was very helpful to see, because I thought it was an elbow.
Yeah.
But I saw him keep rubbing his head, but I was like, man, it looked like an elbow. But then yours, it's clearly head on head.
It's head on head. But I don't think that's where the damage is done. I think the damage is done when he hits the ground.
Probably.
I think that's what the damage is.
And he didn't move, man.
No, he didn't move.
Yeah, totally. Also might have had a concussion, but they don't have a trainer, so our trainer has to go,
Right.
And deal with the guy that might be dead, instead of checking a possible concussion. It's just shit like this is unacceptable for a professional league. I don't know how many times we've had to say that,
every
we'll keep
since
saying
we
it.
started.
It's why we absolutely have to get the fuck out of here, and may that happen as soon as possible. And we're just going to ignore the lack of clinical finishing for this one. Job done. We'll worry about it.
I think your third point here is actually the most interesting of all of these.
Yeah. So point number 3, August is a light month. Savannah Clovers on the weekend, then a weekend off, then Flower City at home. Although I think we're playing them as Salt City.
How dare you get that wrong?
Honestly, it's the classic NISA experience. They promised us flowers and all we got was salt instead.
Oh Lord. Oh, God. There's your I was about to say, where's the sad trombone? There's your title for the episode.
Yeah, that might be it. Yeah, Matthew.
There's also a friendly against Apotheos,
who might be the
Abyssal champions
at that point.
That's right.
But yet again, a game that we have to put in because we played 24 fucking matches in this league, but we do it over the same span that everyone else plays, like 34. It's fucking stupid. But that being said, September it gets a little hot and heavy. We'll have 8 matches in 42 days leading up to the playoffs. Oof. And
knock on wood, that's about time we get Taylor back. We might get Ethan back. We might get Ale back. So some more legs start coming in potentially with. And if we start getting them around that time, it just gives you more ability to rotate, more ability to build cohesion. And we all know that Rod doesn't sub unless those players are up to it. I would argue this year he subbed a lot more, especially at the beginning of the season before Taylor got hurt. But yeah, it's going to be nice to have some legs. I wish those legs came in August, and maybe they will. Ali and Ethan, if you look on Instagram, are getting close to getting back. Yeah. They're both posting training videos all the time. But Taylor, when I spoke with him the other day, he said he's about 2 months away. That's been several weeks ago. But
yeah, so it's just 8 matches in 7 match weeks. There's only one midweek match in there, which is good. It'll be honestly the most normal period of our season. To what a season should look like. It'll be a tough stretch, though.
I think we're on the road a bunch during that stretch, too.
It'll be a tough stretch to open to September, though, because we'll have LA Force at home I think, on a
Yes.
Sunday.
And then LA Force again
On
away
a Wednesday,
on Wednesday.
and then Albion away on a Sunday, and then it just goes to Saturday, Sunday, Saturday. But yeah, so hopefully we can take care of business in these 2 league games in August. Get guys healthy, and then September's a stretch run, and I look at it from the perspective of every game now has to be treated like a playoff game. Every single one. We need to maintain the focus and the commitment to a single elimination game, be it a semifinal or a final. But like they've got something to play for. Like they're still undefeated. Like there's something to play for in every single game, and you have to bring it every night. And let's close this thing out.
I don't know if I agree fully with that. I think you want to go in healthy and playing well. If we drop 1 or 2 in this stretch, like it doesn't matter. As long as we go in as the 1 seed, and as long as we're going and playing well in the playoffs. I'm not wishing us to drop 1, but I'm just saying, like, I'm not sure it's a gotta win every one.
Not give your opponent hope.
Okay, fair.
I've heard that before.
Fair.
But I will take this run in to what we had last year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where we had we played in 2 weeks, and then we played a inconsequential game in Michigan, and then we had another 2 weeks. We had
Which was terrible.
We had one match that didn't matter in a month, and I think it showed in the semifinal.
Without a doubt.
It's entirely possible, using that same logic, though, that we're going to play. Conceivably, if Michigan wins those 2 games, and we'll play a game before Michigan gets those 2 to catch up or whatever. But if you just strictly take that, we're still going to be 7 points up if Michigan wins those 2 games. We're 10 points up on Albion. There is a chance. There is a chance that we've got this thing sewn up. The number 1 seed.
Yeah.
Sewn up 3 games to go in the regular season.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is our entire October slate.
Yes,
so
but
we could still go a month between a game that matters, per se.
yes, but we didn't even play. What Jim's saying, we didn't even play.
Yeah.
I don't think I think you can argue it's easy to give alibis, for example, if you're like, oh, we clinched early, so it was, or we didn't have, I think you can give alibi, but I do think all things equal, you'd rather have games to choose to play and to rotate through to keep a rhythm.
I agree. It's not nearly as aggressive as it was last year, but
last year was awful.
There are going to be potentially and hopefully some dead rubber regular season games, and then we'll have that weekend off when the first round of the playoffs.
It would be
will take
lovely
place.
to let starters play for 65 minutes. And because it's Rod Underwood, he's not going to play them for 45. 65 minutes, and then be able to make 4 subs and have it just not matter, right?
Yeah,
because
that'd be great.
Yeah.
That'd be great. And we'll see how that goes. I'll give you my 3 key takeaways real quick, and Jim, if you've got any, you're glad to have them. Next up, evolution. Similar to last year, we kind of took the season in chapters, and I don't think we're a finished product yet, but I do think we've seen a little bit of an evolution here with Mumu coming back into form, Jesus arriving, and their play and beating a guy, and then Beto's emergence as an offensive player that can score out of the midfield. Plus, just getting numbers more forward now as opposed to being disjointed. I think we're seeing an offense that was, beginning of the year, was reliant on Taylor doing magic. Kind of the second phase was Markus does magic. And now, for a little while now, we're playing much more team-oriented, much more cohesive. Not perfect, but much more cohesive. And it's a step forward. It's just each time's been a step forward. And I'm hoping that now we keep building on this, and by the end of the season, we will continue to take some little steps forward. That's my first point. We'll see what happens with that. Indy Cup and friendlies are important for morale and minutes. I love how we approached it. I wouldn't change a darn. Even though we conceded 2 at the end, that's a player mentality issue, not a coaching issue, I don't think. Maybe Rod should have yelled at them more. Maybe that's a possibility, right? But I would imagine they got yelled at after the game a little bit. Or on Monday or whatever. Doesn't matter. At the end of the day, I think he and the coaching staff managed it perfectly. They managed it with logic, not emotion. And everybody, we didn't have any injuries in that game that were on our end. We played, and even their injury, which was brutal, had nothing to do with us. He just landed wrong. So anyway, I just love how they did not manage that and go, we'll see how the game goes. And no, they had a plan. And then it's time to get healthy and manage the rest of the season. Just win the damn thing. But we've done the hard part already. We could go on a long losing streak, obviously, but we've done the hard part. We've stayed undefeated until now. Now it's just time to manage, Try to trust the process, trust the process, get better.
I'll remind that this is actually our first opportunity to win a national league. Granted, it'll be a regular season trophy
Followed by playoffs, yeah.
followed by playoffs, but like this is
are
our
we doing
this is
that?
our
Are we
actually
doing
our,
that again?
this is our first time to.
Well,
have
I don't
it.
think that they'll crown a regular season champion, but yeah.
I believe there was something for Cal United last year.
Yeah, there was.
Was there?
Yeah, there was. Nobody knew about it. Nobody knew it was going to happen.
I mean, I'll take another trophy for the trophy case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
but like no, but seriously, like we've played. I don't really count the like Southeastern Conference and the NPSL or stuff like that. But we played in the Members Cup, which was a league.
Right.
We played that fall season in 2021. That was an actual league. Like this is the thing that we can win for the entire league. And yes, there's playoffs afterwards. But this is our chance to for the first time ever to finish first
Internationally?
in a national league.
Let's win them both.
And we obviously we want to win the double. We want to win both things. But step one,
yeah.
win the league and secure hosting rights throughout the playoffs.
with the double.
Win the double. That's going to be the Matthew thing. Jim, do you have any takeaways from this?
I don't not any more than I think we still haven't seen what this team can do, and we're getting results, and so far there's been one moment of magic pretty much each game. And some of those points have rescued a draw out of a loss, and some have given us a win over a draw, but there has been one, and I'm a little worried that can't continue throughout the whole. So we're going to need to generate more. I think the Gold Star match is, at least if you want to look at it from that perspective, it's evidence that we can generate a lot. So I mean, we've been getting points where we're not playing well, and that's always a good thing.
Absolutely.
I would argue that great teams know how to get points when they don't play well.
Absolutely.
100%. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you, listeners. Thank you, viewers. We'll catch up with you soon.